Okay, in our last nutritional episode, we talked about kind of counting calories and working out kind of your calorie intake. In this nutritional webinar, what we're going to talk about is the glycemic index and how to use MyFitnessPal effectively and accurately to track your calorie intake. So in our last webinar, we talked about kind of bulking and cutting and working out kind of your basal metabolic rate. So just a quick recap, so your basal metabolic rate is how many calories that your body needs just to survive on a daily basis. So whether you to be laying in bed, that's just how many calories you would need to kind of work on your how your brain kind of functions. So depending on that, you'd have to work on your daily activity level, and then that will work out your kind of maintenance calories. So if you are unsure how to do this, go back into my first webinar and I go through a step-by-step instructions on how to do that. For the purpose of today, I'm just going to go through very quickly MyFitnessPal and the glycemic index. So MyFitnessPal is a really good tool that I get kind of all my clients to use to kind of track their calorie intake. So in the first webinar, when you worked out how many calories you need, depending if you want to kind of cut and you want to lose a little bit of weight, or if you want to kind of bulk up and put some size on, it'll work out how many calories and how many macronutrients, grams of macronutrients you need. So if you open up MyFitnessPal, and there'll be a little section at the bottom. So if you click on goals, calorie, carbs, proteins and fat goals, and then you can go into carbs, proteins and fat. And from there, depending on what you worked out in the first nutritional webinar on kind of if you want to bulk up or kind of cut, you can put those percentages, so those grams, into MyFitnessPal, and that will allow you to kind of record and track your calorie intake. So MyFitnessPal is a really good app for kind of keeping you aware of how many calories you're actually eating, and I try and get everyone to kind of use it just to make them a little bit aware of what they are putting into their bodies. So MyFitnessPal is really good, but you don't want to become kind of too obsessed with kind of how many calories you are eating and how much you're putting in. If you're looking to kind of lose weight, carbohydrates would be the main one not to go over, and I always say try and stay between 5 and 10 grams of each macronutrient. If you're looking to kind of bulk up and put some size on, protein would be the main macronutrient that you're looking to hit. So that's just MyFitnessPal. It's really good for just keeping a track of what you are eating. So if you just give that a download, have a little play with it and put in your calories and also your kind of macronutrient goals into MyFitnessPal, that will allow you to kind of be a little bit more aware of what you're eating. It can be a little bit tedious, but like I said, you don't want to be going over your calories, just because that will put you kind of into your maintenance or into a surplus, depending what your goal is. When looking to kind of track foods, you need to do it consistently. So do it kind of Monday right the way through to Sunday, so the whole week. You can't just do it Monday to Friday and then kind of let loose on the weekend and don't really track any foods, just because you have a nice kind of steady progress, and then it'll just go up and down, and then your weight can kind of fluctuate depending on if you wanted to obviously lose some weight or kind of bulk up some weight. So that's the first part. The second part of this webinar is just going to be talking about the glycemic index. So the glycemic index is kind of rated from 0 to 100, and every type of food has a GI, so it's rated on the glycemic index. And the glycemic index is just basically how carbs are kind of absorbed and converted into glucose in the body. So when you eat some food, like some carbohydrates such as pasta, or kind of bread, it can have like a higher glycemic index. You get high or low glycemic foods, and it's converted into glucose. When it's converted into glucose, you can use that for energy to kind of fuel your workouts. So being aware of kind of what foods are high in high GI and low GI will kind of make you more aware of what foods you should be putting into your body and what foods you kind of shouldn't, depending on what your goal is. For example, if you're having breakfast, porridge oats are really low GI. So what that does is it kind of gets absorbed into your bloodstream much slower over a long period of time. So therefore it gives you kind of more energy and a nice staggered bit of energy across the kind of whole day or the whole morning. Whereas if you were to have something that has really high GI, that will kind of get absorbed into your body really quickly, and it would spike your insulin levels, and you'd have a nice kind of quick burst of energy, but then it would kind of drop off much quicker. So just being aware of kind of what foods you are kind of eating can kind of affect kind of how much energy you have and how quickly that energy is absorbed into your body. For example, some foods that are like really high GI, so kind of like sweets and kind of Haribos. You see a lot of people kind of, when they're training, they're kind of munching on some Haribos. The reason why they're doing that is because it gives them a nice quick burst of energy for when they're kind of weightlifting or running, and you see that a lot of the time in marathon runners. So just depending on kind of what food you're kind of like eating, you have low GI and high GI, and that's just how it's absorbed into your bloodstream over a long period of time. For example, you've got sweet potato and white potato. Not much difference between the two, but they do have a different GI, so they sit on the glycemic index at different kind of spectrums. So one is a little bit lower and one is a little bit higher. So yeah, that's all for today. Just talking about kind of the importance of MyFitnessPal and how it is, you know, really beneficial to keep you more aware of kind of what foods you are eating and how many calories you actually are putting into your body, and then yeah, just being aware of kind of different foods and how it gets absorbed into your bloodstream over a long period of time.